The chambers of those who did not keep their commitment and pledge. The chambers of those who fail to keep their pledge. This week I feel I would stop taking medication for I am feeling very well. Now, I want to thank people that had prayed for me in this difficult period of recovery from poisoning. May the Lord bless you greatly. It was really tough. I decided to stand here and deliver the message the Lord had put in my heart. If you love me, I want to ask you to carry your cross and join me in the suffering for the Lord. Some people wrote to me, "How come a servant of God like you is poisoned?" But the truth is evil falls on the righteous and the Lord always delivers them. If you love God, you will go through tests and trials. We must keep trust in the Lord. I cannot hate those who poisoned me and my wife on our wedding day. I have the obligation of loving them, for love surpassed all things. I could not die of that poisoning because I have not finished the 351 chambers of hell, and I cannot die and the devil cannot kill me until my mission is completed. I was overwhelmed by this poison. But the Lord told me, "You will continue this race. This is not the time for you to go." Today, I will continue from where I left. I will talk about the chambers of those who don't keep their pledge. Numbers 30:2. When a man voweth a vow unto the Lord, or sweareth an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word, he shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. Life is made of principles that men are supposed to keep. And men are supposed to be held accountable before their own word. After visiting the chambers of hell where I saw people that bleached their skin, then the Lord took me back home. I was crying because of the things that I have seen. The following day the Lord came and transported me again to the chamber of hell. Every journey to the underworld was continuity from where we had left. The Lord spent the time to explain to me about the architecture of hell and the pain of dead souls that populate this place. These souls were begging God for mercy and asking the Lord to deliver them. Yet the Lord kept saying, "Too late, the judgment has fallen." We left the chambers of people that bleached their skin, and we were moving in a dark and tiny tunnel. Intense darkness was coming from the place where we were heading. I was hearing cries of lost souls coming from this volcanic region, where I saw the rain of fire ravaging and watering souls with more pain. As we moved close to this place, we met a crowd of demons. They were mobilized for an expedition. They were moving in the very direction we were heading to. They have all the instruments of torture that they use in this place. We finally arrived before a crossroad where there were 4 tunnels leading to 4 chambers of hell. There was hot mud in these directions. We took the left direction up to the end of the tunnel, where I saw a prison gate. There were numbers written on it. There was an inscription that said, "The chambers of those who did not keep their commitment and pledge." It was scary, and I said, even these things lead to hell. The gate was really using words such as wickedness. The Lord said, "The time of settling account has come. Tell my people to arrange their ways. Whatever people do on the earth, they will give account to the Creator." My dear brother, you want to enjoy this life, you must know that death is calling, and one day we shall face the judgment of the Lord. Then we finally got in this chamber of hell. The Lord said, "Over here you shall see great torment that you have never seen." My brother, whatever I saw here was unbearable, for the punishment was beyond human reasoning. I cannot find the appropriate vocabulary to express the pain that I saw in this place, for it was beyond human reason. I saw fire coming from all directions. The fire was rising and producing lightning, brightening hail was falling. It was a painful horror to behold. Damned souls were crying bitterly. The Lord said, "All these people that you have seen have committed diverse sins." And He showed me the list on the board. The first sin was those who don't keep their commitment, then those who abused the trust given to them, those who did not respect their words, for they did not keep what they said, those who did not respect the deadline of their commitment. Those who have given up on assuming their responsibility, they failed to do that task. All these things were written on a rock that was burning. After reading the list, we turned around to observe the landscape. I saw numerous souls and men in the flame, and they were chained over their bodies. These people that have lived on the earth like you and me, some were seated on the ground, others were in pits of fire. They were covered by fire and they screamed intensely, and there was no way to breathe in this fire. They were begging for God's mercy, and the sound of their voices was disturbing, for they were piercing to my ears. The torment was terrible. I saw a man in torment with a chain on his neck. Big demons had pierced his tongue and they have introduced a chain in his tongue and they were pulling him all over the place. His torment was unbearable, and I saw hail falling on him. All these souls were tormented by demons. This was the worst torment I have ever seen in hell. They were begging the Lord. This man said to the Lord, "My torment is unbearable." The man kept saying, "Lord, my torment is unbearable." The Lord looked at him with mercy and empathy and told him, "You have abused the trust that was given to you. You had people who trusted you." He told the Lord, "But I did that behind their backs and they knew nothing." The Lord said to him, "I am the one who weighs the ways of men." Then the Lord looked at me and said, "You see this young man? His brother had no one to take care of his place, for he always go to work, and he called him to come and look after his place, but he took that opportunity to call his friends and girlfriends to have sex in the bed of his brother. He committed all kinds of debauchery. When his brother caught him in the act with his girlfriends, he rebuked him with anger. This man humbled himself and apologized, promising not to do it again. His brother told him, "I forgive you, but don't profit from my absence to make my house a place where you will commit evil, and don't bring your girlfriends here anymore." This man made a commitment not to do it again. He gave his word to his brother, but he failed to keep his word, for he kept bringing his girlfriends despite his words to his big brother. He broke his pledge, and when he died, he fell in this place. He is in torment with millions of souls that broke their pledges. Brother, we must be very careful, for on the day of judgment, people will give account for all empty words that they have spoken. Through your word, you will be justified and condemned. After this man there was another soul that was crying. He had a chain on his leg. There was money that was condemning him and claiming justice, for in hell everything talks and condemns people. I asked the Lord, "How did these souls end up here?" The Lord said, "When this man was on the land, he was making promises all the time to people, but he was failing to fulfill his promises. He promised money to a lot of people. When you are unable to keep your promises, don't say vain words that will serve as evidence of your condemnation." This man was promising money and he was failing to fulfill the promise. The Lord showed me a man called Micah from the African country of Guinea. I said, "Lord, what has he done?" The Lord said, "This man was a member of a church where the pastor was making a call for donation for the church to be built. Many people stepped forward to get an envelope. He also went forward and took an envelope. He has accepted the commitment that was supposed to be met in a period of 3 months. However, he faced difficulty in his business. He was unable to meet his pledge and he was unable to meet the deadline. My brother, if you are in this situation, where you have been in many churches, where you took envelopes and made pledges, you made useless commitments in different churches, knowing that you have no capacity to fulfill them, you got to confess. This man failed to meet the pastor and tell him that he had trouble in his business so that he can pay after the deadline. He never did that. He said to himself in his heart, "The deadline has already passed, we can forget about it." One day he was struck by sickness and died. The demon of reclamation came and they captured his soul to hell. I saw how he was begging Jesus to save him. His soul was covered with fire and he was skeletal. He was covered with worms. The Lord said to me, "Tell my people to be careful. They must not take sacred commitment lightly." Deuteronomy 23:21-23 When you shall vow a vow to the Lord your God, you shall not slack to pay it, for the Lord your God will surely require it of you, and it would be sin in you. 22 But if you shall forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in you. 23 That which is gone out of your lips you shall keep and perform, even a freewill offering, according as you have vowed to the Lord your God, which you have promised with your mouth. My brother, as far as the eyes could see, I saw a soul that was in torment. He kept saying, "I forgot to do. I forgot that." He cried bitterly for he was tormented by a group of demons. I heard the chief of demons saying to him, "We are doing this to you to remind you of your pledge, so that you will not forget next time when you make a pledge when you return to earth." They said this to mock him. The torment was so scary that I held the Lord's hand strongly. I said, "Lord, what has he done?" The Lord said, "He promised to buy a guitar for his church." He said to the pastor, "I will buy the church a guitar if your God hears my prayer, for my sister is in Europe and she has promised to get me to travel to Europe. When the Lord takes me there in Europe, I will buy the church a guitar." When this man got to Europe, he failed to buy the church the guitar. I saw that the guitar was attached to his soul. The Lord said, "Tell my people to deal with their pledge. Tell them to always fulfill their sacred commitment." The pain inflicted on these souls by demons was unbearable. The Lord showed me a woman in torment. The Lord said, she took a commitment to pay tithes, and she was sending her tithes to the pastor every month. She was faithful in her commitment. Then she began to encounter financial trouble. She called the pastor for prayer. But the latter did not come, for he was busy. Since the pastor could not come to her place, nevertheless, he was praying for her. And despite the fact that the pastor did not come, this sister prayed by herself. The sister did not know that the pastor was praying for her at home. But the lady said to herself, "I am sending him tithes every month, but when I need his support in prayer, he won't help me with prayer. From now on, I will not send him tithes anymore." She decided not to give tithe anymore. Yet the pastor was praying for her. When she died, she fell here. I saw demons tormenting her. The cries of lost souls in torment was unbearable. I heard a man who was crying. The Lord said to him, "Look at the place you have fallen. You are making so many promises to people, giving them hope. But you have failed to keep your promise. I rebuked you through your conscience, telling you to avoid dishonesty. If only you could hear my voice." The man said, "Lord, I understand and I repent." The Lord said, "It's too late. Every man will bear the weight of his sin. The body that contains sin will suffer and will be burned by the fire of hell." Then I saw another man in the torment. The Lord said, one day his friend came to visit him, for he needed money. Then he promised to give his friend $600. When the money was available, he informed his wife that he was about to lend his friend $600. As soon as his wife learned that news, she opposed him, and he preferred to listen to his wife despite the pledge he made to his friend, yet his friend was in need. I tried to tell him to keep his promise to his friend, but he ignored my voice. When he died, he came here in this place of humiliation, for he humiliated his friend. I could see millions of souls in that pit in this place. It was then I saw demons of hell that were dressed like doctors, nurses, mechanics. They were dressed like workers and employees of companies. They transported countless souls of men, and they made them sit on burning stones that were burning them. A man was made to sit on a rock that had a hole, and his feet were buried in the fire, and lava was consuming him. He was consumed in fire. I heard these demons saying to these souls, "Today, you will suffer for everything that you have stolen in your workplace." I heard a soul saying to the demon, "Please take this wheel lock and give it back to my employer." The demon replied, "Since you hurt your employer, we will hurt you here." The Lord said, "This is what this man has done in his workplace. He was working and was paid an $800 salary. Then one day he stole a wheel lock of the company and took it home. Since this object belonged to the company, he was not supposed to take it home without authorization. He was an employee who was supposed to behave according to the contract that is between the company and the employees. He was taking home things that belonged to the company. I saw that the wheel lock that he took home was attached to him. He told these demons, "I acknowledge what I've done, but take this wheel lock and give it back to its owner." This man was taking things from the workplace to his home, though he was well paid, and he has lost his soul forever because of a wheel lock that costs nothing in comparison to his salary. The chambers of those who did not keep their commitment and pledge. The chambers of those who fail to keep their pledge. This week I feel I would stop taking medication, for I am feeling very well. Now, I want to thank people that had prayed for me in this difficult period of recovery from poisoning. May the Lord bless you greatly. It was really tough. I decided to stand here and deliver the message the Lord had put in my heart. If you love me, I want to ask you to carry your cross and join me in the suffering for the Lord. Some people wrote to me, "How come a servant of God like you is poisoned?" But the truth is, evil falls on the righteous and the Lord always delivers them.